Okay, let's play a game here called "What Did Patrick Reusse watch instead of the Vikings' first preseason game last night?"
Well, Justified is back in a different form. With this the one being based in Detroit, and it's not as good as the bad guys aren't as good as they got a good bad guy this year, but they're not as good as Mags and all those other bad guys that they had in the original series. So I watched that, and then Katie knew about a movie her sister recommended, The Quiet Girl. It's an Irish movie.
Okay.
And every one of those Irish movies from the 60s, family movies, extremely depressing because the old man's always a drunk, right?
Yep.
The old man's a drunk and the wife's always pregnant and there's about 8 kids running around. They don't have
Classic
any money.
Irish.
They're eating potatoes off the floor and stuff like that. Well, The Quiet Girl ends up at with some relatives or distant relatives, a couple who end up, treating her great and buying her new clothes and getting her out of her shell. But then at the end of the movie, very slow movie. At the end of the movie, they come back to her house, and now she's going to be stuck back with these 8 kids and this drunken father, and then as the other family's leaving, she all of a sudden sprints out and starts running towards them, right? She's 9. I think she's 9 or 10. She's very quiet. And she's hugging the father of the father of the other couple, who, of course, I shouldn't tell you everything, but what the hell? Nobody else is going to watch it.
I know. Judd, earmuffs for Judd. I think he had this on the docket for tomorrow.
They have lost a son. They have lost a son, a young son who drowned, and the girl only found that out late. But she's hugging this guy, and Dad's walking up the path, right? Walking up the path towards him, and the movie ends. We don't know what happened. We don't know.
It.
I sat there for an hour and a half, slowest moving movie of all time. And now we don't know what happened. But then again, the Vikings were playing a football game and we don't care what happened. So what's the difference? I mean, what's the difference between not knowing what happened and knowing that what happened last night means nothing? There's not, so that's so... all you Vikings
tell
fans,
that to Luigi Villain, okay? Yeah. You tell that to Luigi Villain.
All you Viking fans think that I was an idiot for watching a movie with a terrible ending. You were an idiot for spending more time watching a game that meant nothing. Okay, right? What?
I love films that end, though, allowing you, the viewer, to imagine how it went. I like that.
I don't like that. Hey, but all the complaints about load management, right, in the NBA and every place else, NBA, the NFL, I have a new proposal. If you do not play your quarterback or your top players in an exhibition game, you cannot then play them in one of these scrimmages against another team that you bring in. You cannot, why in God's name can Kirk Cousins go out and play against whoever the hell you're scrimmaging against, but he can't play a quarter in a game of an exhibition game where you're charging people ungodly amounts of money?
I think you're shortchanging the action Kirk Cousins got last night. He did stand on the sidelines for the entire first half with his full helmet, chin strapped in, taking mental reps.
Looking like he was ready to enter at any moment. Is that
just
right?
Literally just like everyone else is, in their sweatpants or whatever.
No shoulder. Did we use our offensive line or not?
We used one guy. Can you guess which one guy we started?
Left Ingram. We used Ingram, right? To see if he was any good. Was that what? Is that what?
Let's just say if you're so there's one sort of high profile guard left in free agency, Dalton Reisner, who visited last week.
Yes.
If you're his agent, you're making a phone call this morning to the Vikings after what happened last night.
It did not look good for Ingram even playing against their second stringers or something. Did
No.
Seattle use any players? Did Seattle use regulars?
I don't
None
think
of their
so.
main pass rushers.
We
or
can't
anything,
even get Geno Smith, who was out in the street looking for a job.
Drew Lock
my
played
guy.
for like 3.5 quarters last night.
Drew Lock.
Yeah.
Go Tigers.
Yeah, but Geno was he was a nobody at this time last year, right? Where they ended up stuck with him basically, and he ended up being 3 times better than Russell Wilson. So who knows? But anyway, yeah. I wasted my time. You wasted your time, and it was more time. So okay, that's just know that, Viking fans. But here's the good news.
You should put out recommendations for these other preseason games. Vikings fans, here are a few European movies, some subtitles.
Here's another boring movie you might want to watch. But here's the good news. I was working on something yesterday, and I forgot the Clowns were playing an 8-day game. And when I turned it off, we were just wrapping up being 2 hit by whoever the hell these guys were. Apparently this Olsen had pitched before us. I looked at their 3 pitchers, and once again, only that lefty Shreby had I ever heard of. So the Twins had as many hits as the Tigers had pitchers I'd never heard of. Shutting them out.
But coming up next, a beautiful new National League ballpark on the horizon this weekend.
Explain this to me. Is this one of our most unexplainable teams, do you think? I mean, yes. I've been watching them forever. I'm trying to think of ones that there was no rhyme or reason to what the hell's going on. I can't think of one. I don't know. What
So Pat, they played 4 games in Detroit, Pat. In the first 3 innings of the series, they scored 8 runs. In the next 33, they scored a total of, I think, 6 runs.
6 runs, yeah.
33 innings.
That's happened before, too. Remember that one little blip that they had where they got 8 runs off somebody in the first inning or something. They didn't score again for a week, So, they really missed Kirilloff, I think. Don't you? I mean, he's their best hitter. He's the best now, and he obviously had something wrong with him the last week or so because he was striking out all the time before they put him on the injured list. But look at that lineup. You look at that lineup. You shouldn't be that shocked. It's a lineup where you want Willie Castro to be up, for goodness sakes. That's how bad of a lineup it is.
I saw, Pat, that Royce Lewis worked 2 walks against Hunter Green. Was actually doing a rehab start yesterday in St. Paul, and they hit him pretty well. I think he only pitched like 4 innings. Then they tagged him pretty good. But Royce Lewis worked a couple walks against him. I was told maybe next week he's up, but I don't really know what the long-term plan is.
I'm wondering if he's there tonight. If Solano's not going to play, who's there tonight in Philadelphia? Why not him? What's if he can rehab for 3 more days there, why doesn't he just come up and play for the Twins? Because there's a spot on the roster. What the hell? What are we wait? What are you waiting to see? Plus, the Saints don't have a game tonight. They don't play on Mondays, right? I don't know. They drive me nuts. If he's ready to play, bring him up and let him play. Yeah. If he's playing there, why not? What you would rather send up? I don't who. Kyle Farmer, you'd rather send up somebody like that. I don't know. You need a guy to play, a right-handed hitter. Let's go. What are we waiting for?
I think what's weird too, back to your point about there's no rhyme or reason for anything here, that this and you've asked this before too. Why is this team more frustrating than some of the other Twins teams? I think it's because you look at it and the current lineup as constructed leaves something to be desired. But when you get the full version of it, when you get Kirilloff and then Royce Lewis and the version of Carlos Correa that you thought you were going to get, it feels like there's so much room for this team to still, and there's still hope, right? There's 6 or 7 weeks left, that there's still a ceiling there that they could get to, but they haven't come anywhere close to it.
Yes.
So that gap is the thing that pisses people off, I think.
Yeah, that's A, and B is, in all the years that this division wasn't good, It has never been on a platter like this. It has never been. It has never been this bad, and yet you're down there sprawling around in the mud with everybody else. You're now back to 2 over, right? 2 games over. 2 games over. Or 3.
They're 3.5. Or for 500. Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Over 500.
2 games over. Yeah.
2 games over. Yeah.
Yeah, they're a mess. They drive me crazy.
You know, they do drive you crazy because I mean, baseball is an inconsistent game. It lasts forever, 162 games, but there should be some expectation of what you're going to see, what you might be able to see. This team, there's no expectation. How do you go from, hey, they're playing pretty good, to they just got beat 3 in a row by Detroit, which is worried about 2026. You know, it's just unbelievable. The Tigers wrapped up the season series, right? Even with 2 games left.
I believe that.
I think that's correct.
And
the Twins are now, what are they? They're 1-6 against the Royals and Tigers since the All-Star break,
yes,
I believe.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah. I was thinking of going on Twitter and saying, this Central might not be as bad as we think it is. You got the Kansas City beating them 3 in a row. And
everyone's beating each other up. It's a great division. Everyone's beating each other up.
Maybe that's what the deal is. Everyone's beating each other. And weren't the Whiteys just beating the Yankees? The Whiteys beat the Yankees a couple of times, didn't they?
Yeah.
The Yankees. The Yankees aren't going to make it, are they? They're not going to make they're back in last place in the East, and I don't think they care. I think they're waiting to get Ohtani, don't you? Except I don't know if they can get Ohtani off the West Coast.
I was going there, Pat.
I don't think. Yeah, he probably prefers the West Coast, but I think they'll try. Don't you think? They got to be up to something because they aren't spending their money and. Would they like to? I think if you call them up, we're looking for a right-handed hitter. If you had called them up on August 1st, you probably could have got Giancarlo, right? Wow.
Yeah, did you see that clip of him like power walking from second base around third?
Yes,
it was a Jim Thome power walk basically.
And Boone justified it. Yeah. Boone justified it and said, "Yeah, he's been hurt a lot. He got it. Mm-hmm. It was unbelievable. He just gave up."
What do I remember best about him? Giancarlo, south of France, Ricky Nolasco, right?
Yeah.
Ricky, our guy Ricky, who didn't we give $48 million to Ricky? 4 years, yeah. 48. And he and Giancarlo headed to the south of France as soon as the season was over. And I'm sure it was just swim and work out. It wasn't. It didn't have anything to do with what ladies might be running around there.
I'm pretty sure we had because I think it was either, I can't remember if it was Reusse and Mackey or if it was the brand new Mackey and Judd show. But one of our shows, we were offered Ricky Nolasco for his first round of radio interviews, and we asked either Dustin or Mike, whoever the PR contact was. Hey, do you have any what are some things about him? What's like a bio? What are some things he likes besides baseball? And they got back to us and said, well, he likes cars and money.
Yeah.
Or
cars and money. Who doesn't like cars and money? Everybody likes cars and money. But that collection of starters that they brought in, Van Worley.
Oh my God.
And the Vanimal. And then him. And not only bad pitchers, but pains in the ass too. I mean, it was, and you could go to these guys, Lance Lynn. It's the outside. That's one thing you got to say about getting Pablo. He's a stand-up guy who tries to pitch 7 innings every night. It's you don't have the flaws that we've had that the Twins have had with so many other starters that they brought in here.
Mike Pelfrey was a good guy.
Yeah, he was. He was
a good guy.
He was a good. Couldn't wait to get he was a good guy. He'd take the ball and be back in a little while, but as Wayne had,
he'd be pretty lathered up after about an inning and 2/3.
He wouldn't last with the pitch clock with those 40 seconds between pitches, but he would. But
him and Jason Marquis, man.
Yeah, Jason Marquis was my favorite.
Oh yeah. Don't you? Who was the lefty? Who was the lefty? The veteran lefty they brought in.
Correa was Correa.
Tommy Malone.
No.
Tommy
No,
Malone.
no. I'm wrong. It was a right-hander, older right-hander. They were. You should see his
Was it Kevin Correa? Wasn't that the guy's name?
You should see his sinker ball. He was a Hispanic guy, I think. Who I'm thinking of? That was 10
Levon Hernandez.
Levon,
we had
8, 9. I like
Sidney
Levon.
Ponson, Ramon
Sidney
Ortiz.
Ponson. That's who I was thinking of.
There he
Sidney
is.
Ponson.
Oh yeah, he'd have the greased up hair too. He'd go back there and rub a little of that on the baseball.
Oh man, that's probably another reason the frustration with this team, because now it's wavered a little, but the starting pitch, they got starting pitching.
Hell yeah.
It's easy to explain the ups and downs and the disappointments when you got Chris Archer and Dylan Bundy, and when we got Chris Archer and you set him out there and say, try to give us 4, will you, Chris? Come on, hang in there, buddy.
Your guy Maeda was great yesterday.
Yeah, he was.
He's fantastic.
One home run and you're done. You're one. You got no chance to win with this team.
We do have some reserves too. Declan actually was out at CHS Field scouting not only Brooks Lee, but Randy Dobnak was on the bump.
Oh, he saw the Dobber. He was telling me this. He saw the Dobber. Dobber kind of struggled through 4 innings, but quite a festive weekend over there. They're Saturday night. They're retiring Daryl Strawberry's numbers. I had forgotten that in 29 games and 108 at bats, he hit 18 home runs and drove it. I think he was too good for the Northern League. That's my. He hit 18. He had 18 home runs and 39 RBIs and 108 at bats, and they also walked him like 35 times. His on base percentage was like 550 or something. So
it is amazing.
I think he was a little too good for that league.
Well, remember when Kevin Millar came in and just hit a jack on he hadn't played in a few years and just hit a bomb.
I looked up. I had him look. Actually, I wrote that column about him for Wednesday, and I had him look up. The electronic library. Look up and see if I wrote anything about Strawberry during I know I wrote some stuff about Strawberry in the 1996 World Series. It was a Strawberry diary. I wrote like 7 columns about Strawberry during that World Series. It was, because he did some things for him. He did help him, and he had a relapse after that. But then he's good now. He's been a preacher for 17 years, and his third wife. And the wife they had here was a really patient, wonderful gal, but that one didn't work out, I guess, when he had his next relapse. He's also beat colon cancer.
Yeah.
So, anyway,
I had forgotten about that till I saw that in your column.
Yeah. But man, you look back, they had those 2 guys. They had Doc and him, and they were both about 22. They thought they were gonna own the world.
Did Doc come up in 84, Pat? Doc came up in 84, right? Because the Cubs won the division.
Year after Strawberry, yeah. Strawberry. Yeah. Doc was he was unbelievable. But you know what? I never tried it, but that cocaine must have been pretty good stuff. Because people people seem to like it. Once they tried it, they seem to like it. So that's
those Mets teams were fueled by coke.
I like gin, so I don't feel I'm not down on them. It must have been pretty damn good, coke. I don't know. Those
Mets teams. Read the book. There's a book that came out about the '86 Mets when they were flying back from winning the NLCS in Houston. They tore the plane apart. It was so bad that they basically billed them for the plane because the interior was nothing but like drug paraphernalia, and they tore the seats apart.
Plane ride from hell.
Jesus Christ!
And they were puking on the plane. Nobody.
Davey just sat up front and didn't care as long as
80s, man. It was the 80s.
80s.
Just chalk it up to the 80s.
You know who was a monumental dink? Davey. God, was he? When he was in New York, he was a jackass. You tried to deal with him. He was if he did, if you were some guy coming in from St. Paul and wanted to get 10 minutes with him, you had no chance. He was a jackass. And but he had a good club. They had a long run as a manager too, various places. But that ballpark was just a hellhole too. It was just awful, Shea Stadium, and it kind of fit the whole Mets thing. I'm sure there were little cubicles where they could go back there and use their drugs before they got out of the field. It was, as I say, if you took coke, and you could afford it, what the hell? The cheap stuff. When they got the cheap stuff, that kind of
dangerous.
Coke was so good, you had to get a cheap variety of it to use it.
Yeah, you got to be careful with the off-brand Coke. That stuff.
Right. They were putting some stuff. They were using a lot of sweet and low in there with your Coke. I think. I don't know.
Baking soda.
That was a habit I couldn't afford. So. Anyway.
So good luck to Daryl Strawberry going into being celebrated this weekend. So, all right, and we'll look for your recommendations for what Vikings fans can watch next week.
Okay,
so put some stuff together.
I'll check the TV thing and have a list for you of really boring movies.
Okay,
all right,
sounds good.
Goodbye. All
right, there he is, Royce Unchained, presented by our friends at Summit Orthopedics. Whatever you're dealing with pain-wise, could be anything, ankles, knees, up to neck. Summit Orthopedics can help. No referrals are needed. They offer same-day appointments if you're really hurting. They also offer walk-in urgent care 7 days a week, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Learn more at summitortho.com.